Sometimes the hardest part about losing someone you love isn't saying goodbye. It's learning how to keep going when the world you built together collapses. For Ben Carver, that moment came the day he stood before the broken-down farmhouse his late wife, Emma, had once called home. The neighbors whispered that the place was worthless, that it was foolish to move his kids there after her death. Even his brother-in-law warned him it was a mistake. But Ben wasn't chasing money, he was chasing meaning. The gravel crunched under his truck as he pulled into the overgrown driveway, staring at the rotting porch and the sagging shutters. His daughter Sarah tried to hide her pain behind indifference, while his son Jake, always hopeful, pressed his face against the window, amazed by how big it was. To them, it was just an old house. To Ben, it was the only thing Emma left behind. What he didn't know then was that buried inside this dying farm was a secret, one that would rewrite everything he believed about Emma's past, her family's legacy, and his own future. Because hidden within those cracked walls and dusty rooms was the key to a mystery worth $143 million, and it had been waiting decades for someone brave enough to find it. The house was silent except for the creak of floorboards and the whisper of wind through broken glass. Ben pushed open the door, and the smell of dust and time filled the air, as if time itself had been sealed inside. Every room was a frozen memory, faded wallpaper, covered furniture, and photographs of a family who had loved this place once. His kids wandered through the halls, discovering pieces of the life their mother had spoken of in bedtime stories. In the kitchen, jars of preserved vegetables lined the shelves, still labeled with dates from the 1980s. Upstairs, Sarah found Emma's childhood room, perfectly preserved, as if waiting for her to return. And in that house of ghosts, Ben felt his grief mixing with wonder. Every corner seemed to whisper that this place had secrets. One's Emma's grandfather, Dr. Emil Reeves, had taken to the grave. That night, after the kids had fallen asleep, Ben walked through the house alone and promised his wife's memory that he would make this place live again. He didn't yet know that the attic above him held something more valuable than gold, something that powerful people had been hunting for since before he was born. 3 days later, while fixing a stuck window in what had once been Emil's study, Ben's foot caught on a loose floorboard. When he pried it open, he found an old leather satchel hidden beneath the dust. Inside were notebooks, maps, and small vials labeled with strange codes. His heart raced as he read the embossed name, Dr. Emil Reeves, Agricultural Research, 1934. The document spoke of experiments with drought-resistant plants, hybrids that could thrive in poor soil and regenerate the land itself. It sounded impossible, like something out of science fiction. But when Sarah examined the diagrams, her eyes widened. These weren't the sketches of a hobby gardener. They were the meticulous blueprints of a scientific pioneer. Emil had been testing new forms of life, decades ahead of his time. Ben's hands shook as he realized the weight of what he'd found. These weren't just old papers. They were evidence of something that could change the future of agriculture, and perhaps the world. But before he could say a word, the sound of tires on gravel broke the silence. His brother-in-law Rick was back, and the look in his eyes said he already knew too much. Rick wanted him to sell the farm, but Ben refused. He couldn't explain why not yet. Something deep inside told him Emma's family had left this place for a reason. The next morning, guided by the maps from the satchel, Ben and his children ventured beyond the barn. They pushed through brambles and weeds until they reached 3 moss-covered stones arranged in a triangle, just as Emil had drawn. Behind them lay a hidden garden that had somehow survived 40 winters untouched by human hands. The plants were enormous, thriving in dead soil, their leaves vibrant and alive in ways that defied nature. Tomatoes that never stopped producing fruit. Grains taller than a man with seeds larger than any known crop. It didn't make sense, yet there it was, growing wild as if the earth itself had chosen to protect it. Buried beneath a metal hatch, they found jars filled with seeds, each marked with careful notes and dates stretching back to the 1930s. The realization hit them all at once. This wasn't just a garden, it was a living laboratory. And the old man everyone had called crazy had created something the world had never seen before. When agricultural expert Dr. Patricia Chen arrived, even she couldn't hide her shock. She studied the plants with trembling hands, whispering that they shouldn't exist. The seeds were more than just old, they were miraculous. Genetic testing revealed drought resistance, soil restoration, and growth rates that defied science. Your great-great-grandfather, she told Ben, was 50 years ahead of his time. But as her excitement grew, so did her concern. If this discovery was real, it could be worth millions, maybe hundreds of millions. And that meant someone somewhere would want to take it. Within days, men in suits arrived claiming to be from the Department of Agriculture, demanding access to the property. But Dr. Chen's research proved they weren't government agents at all. They were working for Titan Corporation, one of the biggest agricultural conglomerates in the world. That was when Ben realized the truth. This wasn't just about family history anymore. He and his children had stumbled into a battle that had started long before they were born. A battle between innovation and greed, between a man who wanted to feed the world and corporations that wanted to own it. Titan had been hunting for Emil's research for decades, hiding behind fake companies and false investigations. Ben's brother-in-law had unknowingly led them straight to the farm. Now, the corporation was trying to claim legal ownership over Emil's work, arguing that their modern patents covered the same genetic modifications. They wanted to erase Emil's name, seize his discoveries, and bury the truth again. But Ben refused to surrender. With Dr. Chen's help, he contacted Dr. James Rodriguez, a legal advocate for sustainable farming. Together, they prepared emergency patents to protect Emil's work before Titan could steal it. For the first time, Ben saw how deep this conspiracy ran. Titan controlled seed distribution, fertilizers, and even government research. Emil's self-sustaining crops threatened to destroy their empire. As Rodriguez explained it, your great-great-grandfather didn't just create better plants. He created freedom, and they can't afford that. The moment Ben signed those papers, he knew his life would never be the same. He wasn't just a farmer anymore. He was the heir to a revolution. Within 48 hours of filing, Titan struck back. Lawyers flooded Ben's mailbox with lawsuits. His bank accounts were frozen, and mysterious cars began watching the property from the road. But Ben had something Titan didn't. A family bound by purpose and a truth that couldn't be bought. Sarah organized Emil's journals into evidence files. Jake nurtured the experimental plants as proof, and Dr. Rodriguez built a legal defense that began to attract worldwide attention. When the media finally broke the story, public outrage erupted. People demanded to know why a corporation was trying to suppress a discovery that could feed millions during global droughts. Farmers began rallying behind Ben, offering land, protection, and their voices. For the first time, the world saw Emil Reeves for what he truly was, a forgotten hero whose genius had been buried by greed. And as Titan's stock began to crumble under public pressure, Ben realized something beautiful. The same soil they tried to steal had become their downfall. Because truth, once planted, grows roots no corporation can pull. Months later, under the golden light of an Oregon sunset, Ben stood beside his children in the same field where Emil had once worked. The plants swayed gently in the breeze, stronger than ever, thriving in a world that had nearly forgotten them. The lawsuits still loomed, the threats hadn't vanished, but something inside Ben had changed. He no longer felt like a man running from loss. He was a man fighting for life. With the help of Dr. Chen and Rodriguez, Emil's seeds were now being tested for global farming use, clean, sustainable, and life-changing. Your great-great-grandfather didn't just leave us a secret, Ben told his kids softly. He left us a second chance. Sarah smiled, looking out over the glowing fields. Then we make sure the world gets it. And as the stars appeared over the old farmhouse, Ben whispered to Emma's memory, "We did it." If you believe stories like this deserve to be told, real stories of courage, legacy, and hope, make sure you're subscribed, because what comes next will leave you speechless.